Dr. Mei Lim, can you hear me? Can everyone hear me? Yes, okay, that's great.
Yes, I can hear you very well.
All right, okay. I am Zarina from Faculty of Health Sciences, UiTM Puncak Alam. And today I'll be presenting a study entitled Environmental Hazards and Falls Among Elderly with Low Back Pain. Okay, may I know, is anyone here having low back pain? Oh yeah, Dr. Akisan there. All right, okay. What I can see here in this hall that everyone is not elderly yet, okay? So almost all of the participants here are still at the younger age group, okay? All right, so for the introduction, as what we know that the whole world is getting older, okay? The population is getting aging, okay? And why we said that the world or the global is getting older, yeah? It is when, yeah, the people with the age more than 65 years are greater than the rest, okay? But in the year 2019, yeah, it has been found that from 1 in 11 people are aging, or means that the age is more than 65 years old, and it's increased to 1 in 6 in 2050. It is estimated that with the increase of the numbers of aging people, then the world is getting older. Okay. With that too, Malaysia is also becoming an aging country very soon, yeah? It is estimated to be by 2035, okay? And it is when about 15% of the total population age more than 16 years old, okay? What is low back pain, yeah? Since, as what we know that low back pain is quite common disorders in the country, yeah, and in global. Yeah? Low back pain is what we know that the pain that exists in our back, okay? Yeah, and this pain is between the 12th rib and also the inferior gluteal fold, yeah? And it is also a disorders that cause disability globally. It is the #1 cause of disability globally, okay? And also the main arthritis complaint among the elders in Malaysia, okay? And why this exists in elderly, yeah? Okay, it is because of several factors or several causes, okay? Which are more due to neuromuscular changes, yeah? Which reduce the fourth generation, are also causing slower motor unit and slower movement in those elderly, okay? And these are the causes for the increasing of falls, okay? And falls lead to unintentional injury, okay? Due to poor mobility, disability, fear of falling, reduced quality of life, and death in the elderly. And in Malaysia, the death due to falls is ranked about 150th compared to other countries. All right, falls among the nursing home residents are 3 times greater compared to the community living elderly, okay? Why? Yeah, why is this so? As what we know that elderly living in the institutions were related to the various risks of falls, okay? For instance, due to their comorbidities, like hypertension, diabetes, and so on and so forth, okay? There are so many comorbidities among those that living in institutions, okay? And these people also having some sensory and also balance deficits, cognitive and functional decline, and also they use a lot of drugs. Yeah? And extrinsic factors are also one of the common factors that contribute to the falls among the elderly, okay? Studies related to home hazards and falls have inconclusive findings, okay? Therefore, this study has been conducted to explore environmental hazards and their associations with falls among the elderly with low back pain that live in the institutions. Okay. The objectives of this study were to determine, the first one, the existing environmental hazards in institutionalized centers for the elderly, specifically in Malaysia. Second one, the association between environmental hazards and falls among elderly with low back pain living in institutionalized centers. Okay, here are the methods. Yeah, this study was designed as a cross-sectional study using the survey method, and the sample size was calculated using the Rouse software, which gave the actual sample size about 284 participants, yeah, which includes those that live in 7 institutions, yeah, including the RSK Ceras. RSK stand for Rumah Seri Kenangan, okay, which is the common government institutionalized centers, yeah, for the elderly, yeah. Which included the Ceras, Taiping, Tanjung Rambutan, Cheng, Johor Bahru, Bidong, and also Kanga. Okay, the instrument that been used for this study were the demographic questionnaire and the FRAT, yeah, which measures the risk of falls, and the home fast, which is the environmental hazards screening form. Okay, here are the inclusion criteria and also the exclusion criteria, yeah, for the study. And this study received the ethics approval from UiTM Research Ethics Committee, and also received the permission by the JKM. And data analysis used for this study were the descriptive statistic and also the chi-square statistic. All right, here are the results. Okay, for demographic characteristic, what we found were, okay, majority of the participants were at 60 to 69 age group, okay, and most of them were male, sorry, yeah, and they were Malays. Majority of them were Malays, okay, and they received, majority received a primary education, okay. They,
2 minutes to go.
Yeah, all right, okay. And here are the results of the objective one. We found that 5 common frequent areas that causing the hazards, yeah, which includes the walkway cluttered, floor coverings are in poor condition, slippery floor surfaces, no access to grab rails in the bath, and no slip resistant mats in the bathroom. Okay. And we found that, yeah, there were no association of environmental hazards and the fall of risk among these people. Okay. All right. For objective one, we found that the majority were at low risk of falls, but the prevalence of falls was high, yeah, which is more than 50%. And falls could be due to inadequate bathroom facilities, slippery floor surfaces, location of bathrooms or toilets outside of the home with poor lighting, and uneven floors, a path or walkway to the toilets. And also, environmental hazards are not significantly associated with falls, but yeah, the falls could be due to some other factors. It could be the intrinsic factors and also the comorbidities among those participants. Okay. As the conclusion, we concluded that environmental hazards are not the crucial cause of falls among the elderly living in institutions, but other factors might play an essential role in falls, okay? And the risk assessment for falls via multidisciplinary approach may ensure a safe environment for the elderly, and further research should consider the emphasis on awareness of falls and also education awareness. Okay, here are the references of the study and the acknowledgement. We would like to thank the UiTM.
I would like to say thank you, everyone.
We would like to thank the UiTM for the grant that we received to conduct this study, and also the JKM and the rest of the participants and people involved in the study. All right, with that, thank you very much. Is there any questions from the floor?
Yes, I have a question.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Dave Osborne from Hong Kong. Thing really leaps out at me. I don't understand why you added the lower back pain to your title of the study. Because two reasons. Firstly, when I looked at your methodology and your selection of respondents, the lower back pain was not a significant issue, and it did not exclude other issues like blood pressure medication, warfarin, imbalance, that sort of thing. And the lower back pain issue was not addressed in your conclusion. So why did you include, why was that a condition of the research?
All right. Okay, thank you very much for the question. Okay, my area of interest is, I am very concerned about the participants that having low back pain. That's why I am conducting this research. Okay, as what we know that elderly presenting with various kind of problems, okay? So therefore, yeah, low back pain is also one of the disorders that commonly found among the elderly, okay? And from my previous studies, yeah, I have found that there were high prevalence of low back pain among those elderly. Yeah, that's why I am focusing, or I want to see what happened in the elderly with low back pain. Okay, does that answer your questions?
And no. I understand your concern, but I don't see how your concern relates to your research. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm with you, David. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, as what we know that elderly, they have so many comorbidities and so on. There are so many factors that causing their problem that related to falls, okay? And one common thing is the intrinsic and also the extrinsic factors. What I am looking at here in this research is more of extrinsic factors, which are the environmental hazards. And for this particular study, I am not looking at the intrinsic factors per se, okay? Which is the cause of low back pain itself. Okay, that's been included in some other related component of the related studies. Hope that answers you.
I'll leave the floor to others. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Is there any other questions? Well, I have a question. David, would you suggest to remove the lower back pain from the title of the paper?
Yeah, I mean, the survey seemed, everything else seemed to fit. But when you put the lower back pain into it, that really didn't fit with the results. There was no correlation, as I could see, between lower back pain and the accidents themselves or the mishaps. They could have been caused by the lower back pain, they could have been caused by something else. And lower back pain can be anything from a bad night's sleep to terminal cancer. So, there's absolutely, you have to be a lot more specific, I think, if you want to talk about, what you mean by lower back pain. And then you need to directly relate the lower back pain as a cause of the mishap. And I think those things are missing from the research. It gives you opportunity for further research, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much for the suggestion there. Yeah. All right. I take note of that.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do we have the presenter ready for AcE-Bs2022? 4 concerns among carriers of an older person.
Good evening. I speak to the chairperson and to other presenters. And today I will present entitled 4 concerns among carers and of an older person. As we all know, the population of the elderly person has shown an increase of the prevalence of older person worldwide. This study also has shown that the population aged 65 years old and old. Other studies also stated that by 2030, Malaysia is expected to become an aging nation where 50% of older person will be an older person. As fall is always regarded as a normal part of aging process, an older person are prone to fall, mainly due to the decrease in physical, cognitive, and comorbidity that associated with chronic illness. As we all know, fall does not only give a significant impact toward the older person itself, but also have significant impact toward the carer. Study evidence also suggests that the caregiver also experience the similar fall related concern as their older age. Instead of currently only focusing on the older person itself, there is a limited study that focuses on the role of carers in preventing fall. Therefore, the aim of this study is to identify the level of concerns of the person, and the objective is to determine the level of concerns among carers of an older person. The second one is to determine the association between the four concern with carers, stress, anxiety, and depression among carers. And the third one is to identify the association between the concern of fall with the demographic characteristic of the older person and carers. Globally, fall is regarded as a normal. Globally, fall is always regarded as a public issue that affects older person. As literature stress that complication of fall in older person physically, psychologically, and psychosocially. But in the delivery of treatment, the caregiver, usually the home caregiver, which is the family member, are playing the vital role in preventing older person. As literature also stress that the complication of fall also give a significant impact caregiver physically, psychologically, and psychosocially. Some of them reported of hurting themselves when trying to prevent fall or trying to help the care recipient to up from fall, and some of them having a psychological distress due to the caregiving, and some of them need to alter their routine schedule in order to care for their care recipient. The literature review also stated that the caregiver also has concern as their older percentage. Some of them are concerned state of worry, social withdrawal, and having psychological distress. And as the main primary concern was not only about the possibility of the older person fall, but also the possible consequences of fall that may lead to trait of the independent and quality of life among older person. All these four concerns will eventually add to the capacity of the carers to deal with challenge when taking care of the older person. As for the methodology, their quantitative cross-sectional study was implemented using a purposive sampling method. There are 390 carers of an older person were participate in this study and was collected using online method, and the instrument used is a demographic questionnaire for the carers and older person, and carer for consent instrument, which is to measure the level regarding for 21 item depression, stress, anxiety, which is to identify the level of stress, anxiety, and depression. And the last one is the caregiver strength index, which is to identify the level of strength when caregiving. As for the finding of this study, the table shown the descriptive analysis of the participant and the outcome measure, where the majority of the carers were female, aged between 18 to 35 years old. And most of them came of their fathers or mother and had staying care recipient for them years with the duration of caring 3 to 6 hours per day. The caregiver also taking care of their older person, may age range between 71 years above and have history of chronic disease and history of fall 4 to 7 times as measured by the DAS was shown as extremely severe anxiety, stress, severe, depression, moderate. Okay. As for the correlation between the 4 concerns with demographic and the outcome measure, the study showed that there is positive, strong correlation.
As stated in the slide, the table 2 shown the finding of this study that there is positive, strong correlation between the 4 concerns with the duration of care, age of the older person, number of 4 carer strain, anxiety, stress, and depression.
With 2 minutes left.
Okay, as for discussion, there is high level of a concern associated with increased level of carer strain, anxiety, stress, and depression. Similar study also stated that caregiver with elderly that have high fall risk also shown have high level of depression, anxiety scale, as the also lead carer of elderly with high fall risk expectation also shown an increase in depression, anxiety, and high stress scale, which will eventually increase their burden when they are taking care of their care recipient. Some study also that there is increase in concern when elderly had their first fall. Some other study also state that although the carer has low strain level, carer still experience strain and burden. This is maybe due to the expectation of filiation, which is the caregiving of an older person, caregiving of parent as they get older. But some study also stated that regardless how many fall that the older person did, the carer will express concern about unknown implication of fall toward older person. In conclusion, from my study, it was conclude that 4 concerns among carer was associated with carer strain, anxiety, stress, depression, and also the demographic data, which is the duration of care, age of older person, and frequency of fall. As for the limitation of this study due to pandemic COVID-19, the distribution of the questionnaire was conducted through online method, and the significance of this study can provide more perspective and understanding, better view of the carer for concern, and also help the community to provide customized unique limitation experienced by older person and carers, and also assist older person to engage in a meaningful work and set goals to live to their fullest. And the contribution to related field of study, this study also can provide insight into caregiver concern about a better understanding of the carer perception regarding fall. The healthcare professional also can personalize intervention based on carer concern, and also can engage carers and discuss with the carer to strengthen the fall prevention strategy for home care recipient. This study also can determine whether the caregiver have a correct evaluation of fall risk report assessment toward their care recipient to prevent the misevaluation of the fall risk report assessment.
Risk report assessment. That's all from me. Thank
you very much. Does anyone have any questions for the presentation? I found the topic to be very interesting. Any questions? Is there any questions? If there's no question, can we move? Is there a question there? No. That's a no? Okay, thank you so much. Let's move on to the next paper, which is WE003 by Dr. Harifa Muhammad Noor.
Yeah, Dr. Mei Lim is represented by me.
Ah, hello.
Hi. So I'm going to share my, I can't
Slide.
share the screen because
we have to wait.
You have to
Yeah.
wait a second. Is it clear?
Before you start, I'd like to make an announcement. This is a message from Yusuf that since we're running late, there will be no tea break. Please have your tea during breakout number 3. Okay.
So, okay. So,
Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay. All right. You have 10 minutes and I'll let you know when you have 3 minutes. Okay. Left.
Okay. Okay, a greeting from East Malaysia, Kota Kinabalu, Sabah to our panel today, Dr. Mei Lim and all the fellow presenters. Okay, my name is Chai. Today I'm going to represent Dr. Harifah Muhammad Noor to present our paper with the titles Accessibility Factors of the Elderly in Achieve Mobility Requirement Case Study in Kota Kinabalu, Sabah. So we move to this research background. Okay. So the elderly population have been grown significantly, unknowing shifting the structure of the country populations. Pyramid fighter is in foreign context of weak in Malaysia. So when we see in the global context in 2013, the elderly would reach 841 billion, and the numbers was increased to more than 2 billion by 2015. So in Malaysia, we can see the people who is 60 years old and above in 2011 was 2.1 billion, and that number is growing up to 3.2 billion by 2030. So what things bring us to in the elderly population is growing out? The one is the increase of life expectancy. This is because of the living environment, the better dentistry practice, and the advance in medical technologies, which makes the life expectancy in Malaysia increase from 72.1 years old in 2011 to 73.2 years old by 2021. So we can see that decrease of the birth rates and the mortality is also caused by the rising cost of living, the early family planning, and the role of women in various economy sectors such as industrial and more service sector, tertiary sectors. So we can see that in 11 Malaysia plans, the government aims to improve the access to service quality healthcare by upgrading their medical infrastructures, increase the number of the staff, and establish the clinics by Malaysia to service the people in the rural place. So we can see that all this lead to why the population of the elderly growing up in Malaysia. So we move to the next. We are going to the aims or the objective of these papers, which is to identify the travel pattern of the elderly and examine the accessibility factors of the elderly to achieve the mobility. Okay. So this is the literature review, which is consists 2 major parts, which is a definition of the elderly and the concept of accessibility. So according to the thinkers, 1997, the elderly was those who are older than the retirement age, which is a person eligible for a post-retirement patients, but the elderly have a different meaning in different countries. We can see that in United Kingdom, the elderly was the people who reached 65 years old and above, but in United States, the elderly are referred to the people who reach 55 years old. But we can see also in European Union, which is the elderly was the people who reach 60 years old. So in Malaysia, the elderly are referred to the person who is 60 years old and above. So to be conclude that the concept of accessibility would be the opportunities of an individual or a group of individuals to access a social or economic activities that involve the interaction between the land use and the transportation network through the medium to lead there to the destination they want to go. because when they are retired or they are aging, they still have a mobility needs. So this is why the research will be about the research methodology. These papers are hundreds who are their age is 60 years old and above. And was sampling, you have to follow the characteristic of your respondent to avoid the bias. And these papers are employed 4-point Likert scale, which is strongly disagree, agree, and strongly agree. So the data will be analyzed using a descriptive analysis, such as scoring and percentage, and the factor analysis, which consists 28 of parameter or variable to see that what is the factors most influence the accessibility of the elderly Kinabalu Sabah. So we move to the findings. Okay, this is the demographics. So I will go through, which is the respondent of this finding are most popularly reached as 60 to 64 years old. The male are more than females, and actually most of them are married, and they are preferring to stay with the children or their family members, because in Malaysia they are most they show the tendency is living in a big families. So okay, this is the travel pattern of the elderly, which is we can see the frequency of leaving the house. Nowadays, the elderly was out from home very rarely. That is mean 1 to 3 times in a week. And the frequently visited destinations was the grocery store, markets, and the worship place. And the estimate travel distance are between 1 to 5 kilometers, and travel time only travel out when necessary. They are more preferred to stay at home. Okay, and the mode of the transportation that they use, we can see the they show the tendency in using a private car as a passenger. They are like to driving. Now they are most popularly is not driving. Okay, we move to the factors of the elderly accessibility. So these factors I am focused on the models prescribed for JSMV 2004, which is the analysis factors of the accessibility was personalities, land use, transportation facility, and temporal. So in the factor analysis, they have 28 of parameters that can that's been analyzed to 4 major factors. And the barrier test show that they have a significantly, it means all the items are suitable for running and factor analysis. And the
KMO 2 minutes to go.
Okay. The KMO results show that they have no serious multicollinearities problem. That means all the data are suitable to use it to running out with factor analysis. So we can see that the analysis factors most dominant in elderly was land use factors and the temporal factors. Okay. So we move to the slides, which is conceit discussion. So nowadays, the elderly are travel less and short distance, and they show the tendency to use a private vehicle as a passenger because they has more comfort, and they are stopped to driving, and because of the health condition. And the personality factors influence the ability in achieve the mobility requirements, and the transportation facility as a medium for elderly to achieve the mobilities. And what is the temporal? Temporal factor is referred to the ability of opportunity as a personal or a group person at a particular time for an individual to access their activities. So we move to the conclusion. It can be concluded that either elderly accessibility factors have direct impact of the elderly. And this can become the factor that influence their decision on traveling. And the distribution of the most important facility and destination must be cross proximity to increase the mobility of the elderly. Because of the health condition, they will be able to assist them without laying to the others. And the other accessibility factors such as personalities, transportation facility, and temporal also the element can be provide either the challenges or the opportunity to the elderly to remain active after they reach the senior age. That's all for me. I think that's all for me. Thank you. Thank you for
Thank you
that.
very much. Is there any questions from the floor? I find this topic really interesting. So thank you. Is there any questions? May I know, you mentioned about they travel in like a mostly private cars as passengers. So does that mean that they only travel with their children or friends or people that they know?
Yeah, they are sure the tendency is using a private car compared with the public transportation, because the public transportation in Bandara Kota Kinabalu is heaven giving a convenience, which is they have no discount for the elderly. The condition, the crowd, this will become crowded, and maybe about the hygiene problems. So they are show the tendency to use a private car.
Would you say that it's considered to be not as safe, like for them to go and use the public transport?
Actually, they need, the one of the problem is the health condition. They need to walk to the terminals to access the public transportation. So they are most probably prefer to use a private car, then they can pick up them in the door-to-door service. This will make them more easier and convenient.
Okay, yeah. Okay, is there any question? Because it's quite different to the what we see in Australia, because in here, I'm from Kuching, by the way, so I understand. I understand. Yeah. But so it's very interesting. So if there's no other question, thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Mei Lim.
Thank you. Now we welcome paper WE04, Mrs. Noor Atik Azman. The paper perceives social support and depression level among elderly living in institution. When you're ready.
Thank you. All right. So greetings to the participants. Dr. Mei Lim from Australia, and then all the participants in Cherating and also virtual platform. So good evening. My name is Noor Atika Azman from Center for Occupational Therapy Studies, UiTM Malaysia. So herewith is my title on perceived social support and depression level among elderly in institution in Malaysia. So here are the authors. Okay, these are the contents that I'm going to deliver. Background of study, objective, literature, methodology, findings, discussion, and conclusion. So first and foremost, I would like to inform that one of the health-related behaviors, including social support, which is social support is very crucial for the elderly, which is they are functioning because of the social support they receive from the carers in their surrounding. So social activity and perceived stress may be related to a favorable depression outcome. Family functioning also lead to depression, which is due to lack of social support given to each other. So it is said that social support and depression is differ between people who live alone and the elderly who are living with a spouse. Okay, so the objectives of this study includes, we have three. First, to identify whether demographic characteristics and perceived social support has association between that. And then if there is any association between demographic characteristic and level of depression. And the last one to see if there is an association between types of social support towards depression level. Okay, from the previous literatures, it is said that triggering factors of psychological issues among elderly include social issues that relate to receiving emotional support neither from the family, friends, or spouse. And other literature say social support acts as a predicting factor for the healthy well-being of the elderly. And most severely depressed elderly patients affects to the loss of basic maintenance abilities, and components of social support system includes emotional, instrumental, informational, and appraisal. Okay, these are the methodology that we have conducted in this study. So it is actually a cross-sectional design. We have been using a purposive sampling with around 92 respondents from the one of the elderly nursing home in Malacca, Malaysia, and then one of the criteria include to have 23 score of the mini mental state examination as a screening for cognitive functioning, and then elderly who are more than 60 years old. And these are the instruments that we have used, which is a multidimensional scale of perceived social support, which is to measure the social support perceived by the elderly, and then the geriatric depression scale to observe on the symptoms of depression. And this study has been warranted for their ethical approval from UiTM and also Social Welfare Department of Malaysia. Okay, roughly in the findings, we can see that, findings actually to measure objective, we have been using Pearson correlation and also PET test to see whether there is association between support and towards the demographic, and then depression towards the demographic. So it is, we can see that from the overall findings, there is lack of association between demographic factors towards social support and depression with low correlation, poor correlation. Okay, and then findings in terms of type of social support received by the elderly. Majority of the elderly receive friend support instead of the significant others. Significant others relates to the people surrounding in the institution, for example, like the health workers, the administrative workers, the social workers. And there is also lack of support from the family itself. Okay, and for the last association, which is the types of the association between types of social support towards depression level, it is we can see that there is correlation between significant other support with the depression level with poor association. Okay, so for the discussion, demographic and social support actually supported by Koizumi 2005. The low education and females elderly perceive less social support, and then
low social support from family, friends, and significant others. And last one, good family support lead to less psychological distress. Okay, as the conclusion of this study, older adults in the government institution receive major support from friends, and then social support and depression were not associated with any demographic factors, and good social support giving to less depressive symptoms, and last one, less depressive symptoms increase functionality and make so this study indicating that social support is very crucial, which is one of the roles of the occupational therapist to highlight the importance of good from. Okay, that's it from me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, is there any question? I don't have any questions for you, but I do love your slides, your presentation slides.
Thank you.
You've just given me some very good ideas to what to do with my presentation for my upcoming presentation. So thank you very much. So if we don't have any question, can we please move on to the next presenter? For paper ELE 11001, Dr. Tengku Nazatul Shima Tengku Pari.
Thank you, the Chair, Dr. Mei Lim from Australia, and Assalamualaikum to everyone that is present today. My arts towards users' engagement and motivation in learning articles, the topic that I would like to share with everyone today. Ladies and gentlemen, okay, this is what we call the technology is not friendly. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, learners need to be technologically savvy to compete in the global world today. One of the objectives of the Malaysia Education Blueprint from 2015 to 2022 is to incorporate the information and communication technology into the teaching and learning to meet the demand of the global standard. Aside from being technologically savvy, one of the current demand of the global workforce is to one of the current demands of the global workforce necessitates learners to be proficient in the English language. One component that is important for learners to do well in the English language is the use of article. Learners' fear and apprehension towards grammar are some of the causes that contribute to the lack of mastery in the English language. And therefore there is a need to improve the teaching and learning process through games via technology to improve learners' English language proficiency. Ladies and gentlemen, to elevate the learning potential, learners to elevate the learning potentials. To elevate the learning potential, there's a need for the game to be educational and stimulating. My friends and I have designed a game called My Arts, in order to help learners to understand articles, the use of articles. And the learning theory behind the design of the game is the theory of variation. The game is designed according to the specification of the elements from the theory of variation by Martin and Booth, 1997, that support the design of the question in My Arts game via mobile-assisted language learning. And according to Martin and Booth, 1997, the core elements of teaching or learning is for learners to see the core element of the subject matter through diversity and not through sameness. Okay, so in terms of methodology, a qualitative and quantitative probes were used for qualitative probe, a content analysis was used where the elements from the theory of variation, which consists of the element of contrast, fusion, separation, and generalization, were used to help in the design of the grammar question in the game. Yeah? And okay, there are 140 questions in the game that uses the elements, the 4 elements from the theory. So I'm going to show you a few sample of the question. The first sample of questions is using the elements of contrast and fusion, right? So here, the articles are introduced all together, yeah, at the same time. Yeah? So let me explain what is the rationale of using contrast and fusion here. With contrast, the learner will be able to compare and contrast the articles and the and without article, and to see the differences among the articles. And fusion is used when all the articles are introduced together. So contrast help learners to see the differences among the articles and also to highlight. Without seeing the differences, it is difficult to see the sameness or similarity. Okay, so this is another sample of question using contrast and fusion. Okay, now I go to the next types of element that consists of separation and generalization. Yeah? So here in the question, the answers include the usage of article the. Both of the answers are correct, okay, but only one answer fits the usage of the question. Yeah? So what is the rationale of using separation and generalization in this question? Yeah? Here the students need, or the learners need to separate the usage of article the that does not apply in the question. So they need to separate the usage of article the that.
You have 2 minutes.
All right.
Left.
Okay. All right. Okay. And with that, they will make certain generalization that each article carries different usage. Yeah. So the same goes with this. Yeah. Both of the answers are the usage of article only one. Yeah. Only one is correct. Yeah. Applied to the question. So I'm going to show the snippet of the game since we still have time. Okay, try.
Sorry, there's no sound.
There's no sound, and the game consists of an infographic notes, okay, and then followed by practice where learners are able to practice the exercises, basic exercises of the articles. Once they are ready, they can go straight to the real game, My Arts. Okay, there you go, the sound. Alright, so the application of the elements from the theory of variation suggests that learners could improve their knowledge of grammar articles to some extent. The elements could lift learners' awareness of the critical feature of grammar articles, which eventually increases their opportunity to learn and understand articles better. Learners must be given the chance to focus on the important features of the subject matter for them to apply them thereafter. Okay, that wraps up my presentation for today. Thank you very much indeed for your attention.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
What a pity that the technology didn't quite work for us.
Indeed.
Yeah, but I find it fascinating. May I ask, because I didn't quite get the bits that you talked about, the what you use to create, you know, these your my arts. Do you think something similar? This would. Do you think this would work if we use this to create something to help my accounting students understand accounting?
Accounting. All right.
It sounds boring, right?
Dr. Mei Lim, I'm not familiar with accounting. Okay, let me give you an example of tenses, right? We have, in English, we have tenses, present tense, past tense, present progressive, and past progressive. So if you were to browse through grammar books, you could see that the grammar tenses, they are introduced one after another. So with this theory, what we do is that we introduce all the tenses together simultaneously at the same time. So that is the core element of the theory. So the theory of variation propagates that in order for the students to understand what present tense is, the students have to be exposed with other tenses as well.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other questions? He said a no.
Yes, it's a no.
Oh, it's a no. Thank you so much. I might be in touch for more details about your work. Thank you so much. Can we please welcome the next presenter, Dr. Rushani Latif, with a paper entitled The Creation of a Concept Mapping Care Plan for Evaluating Students' Clinical Performance. Thank you.
Okay, Assalamualaikum and good evening to the chairperson, Dr. Mei Lim, and all the participants of ASEAN Conference on Environmental Behavioral Studies. I am Dr. Rusnani binti A.B. Latif, will be present my research title on the creation of a concept mapping care plan for evaluating students' clinical performance. As we know that the major component in nursing education is attachment at the clinical practices. Clinical practices give the student responsibility and understanding care of the patient. Therefore, the clinical learning environment has a great impact on students' learning and professional development. When the student take care of the patient, they need extensive nursing intervention. They experience engagement in learning through nursing care. So, therefore, the objective of this study first is to create a concept mapping care plan to evaluate students' performance at the clinical practices. Second, to compare the mean score of the concept mapping care plan between experimental and control groups during clinical practices. From the literature review, we can conclude that by using the concept mapping, a student will be able to analyze, synthesize, evaluate, and apply new concept and knowledge by constructing the concept map itself. And according to the Yu et al. 2017, found that the concept mapping is an effective learning strategy on increasing the relation of the theory and clinical practices. From the previous study, concept mapping care plan enhanced the critical thinking of the nursing student, which allow the student to analyze, make an assessment, and evaluate data that reflect to the patient care. For the methodology, the concept mapping care plan was developed by the researcher and validated by the 10 expert panel using 3 rounds of Delphi technique. The Delphi technique was used to collect the data, and the validity of the survey was enhanced due to the use of the expert in validation process, where the participants were asked to rate the categorized responses from the round 1 on a scale of 1 to 5, with 1 being very irrelevant and 5 being very relevant. This study used a pre- and post-test quasi-experimental design method with a control group. This population was selected based on the zones. For example, for the experimental group is selected on the east coast and northern. And then for the control group from the central and south region. For the study design using the quasi-experimental, and for the sampling design using the convenient sampling and study population from the year 2 semester 2 nursing student. A total of the 218 respondents was selected in this study using 3G and Morgan 1917, where the mean age of this respondent were 22.15. And from the discussion, thus the element of the concept mapping care plan through the 3 rounds of the Delphi technique consensually agreed, and this study found that by using the formula from the Horizon 2003 as a guideline to get the consensus and importance of items, and the median score was analyzed, the level of consensus of expert, and result found that from the 3 rounds of the Delphi technique, the median result more than 4. It is reported that the level of importance of the statement were high. From the table 2, this is formula from the Horizon 2003. From the table 3, okay, found that the experimental group scored higher in the concept mapping care plan compared with the control group. And then for the table 4, using PETI test shows that there is a significant association between experimental and control group where the p-value is less than 0.5. Now we go to the discussion, okay, regarding the academic performance. Nursing student during clinical practices, nursing student from the experimental group have higher gain scoring in concept mapping score and perform better than a control group. And then the use of the concept mapping strategies significantly improve the student critical thinking skill as determined by concept map care plan score. As a conclusion, I can conclude based on the 3 aspects. First, from the educators, nurse educators must have adequate knowledge regarding proper technique in teaching using concept mapping. And then from the nursing student, by using the concept mapping care plan, the nursing student will analyze first every problem that have by their patient and try to solve the problem by using the appropriate decision making. And then lastly, from the nursing education, this is aligned with the vision and mission ILKKM, that's mean under Kementerian Kesihatan Malaysia, to produce the nurses who have competent and knowledgeable in their profession. Okay, that's all from my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Would you have an example to show the concept
Yes.
mapping? Yeah, the maps that you use.
Okay,
I'll be very interested to see.
This is, okay, Dr. Mei Lim, this is the concept mapping care plan that can replace the nursing care that we have practice currently. In this concept mapping care plan, they have nine items that are structured that based on the scoring that I have validated the scoring by using the Delphi technique. And then the item in this consider from the subjective data and objective data. That means the nursing student, for example, in case when they have the patient, they must get the interview the patient and from the subjective data, and then get the information from the objective data. So, and then after that, they have the prior knowledge in the list. Consists that they identify from their interview of the patient. This concept mapping will increase the critical thinking among the nursing student, where the student can relate the new knowledge with the prior knowledge they have learned already in their didactic theory. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there any question from the floor? Can I take that as a no? If there's a no, thank
you, Ms.
Thank you very much. Let's welcome paper ELE004, Ms. Saida Hazima Ahmad. So your paper entitled The Essential Characteristics of Knowledge Transfer Program, a review.
Okay, thank you, Dr. May and the floor. Okay, so allow me to share my screen. Can I? Because
yes, please.
Here, I can share because others are sharing the screen too.
We need help.
All right, so let me introduce myself. Okay, my name is Saida Hamiza. I'm from Faculty of Science, Administrative Science and Policy Studies. Okay, so this is, hang on, yeah, play from current slide. Okay, so this is our study. It's a systematic literature review entitled The Essential Characteristics of Knowledge Transfer Program, or also known as KTP. Okay, so basically knowledge transfer plays a crucial role for a country to meet competitive advantage and to boost the national income. As we know, universities are entrusted to play the role of knowledge transfer mechanism to the industry and community. And government also have plays a significant role in order to assist or foster the knowledge transfer spirit of among this community. So government have their role to design the right framework, okay, to make this knowledge transfer program a successful one. So it has also been highlighted in this since the 12th Malaysian plan, in the 12th Malaysian plan. Okay, so our objective for this systematic literature review is to examine the essential characteristics of knowledge transfer program to make this program a successful one. Okay, so we are doing a systematic literature review. So the present study was actually guided by ROSE's review protocol. ROSES is significant as it ensures a researcher looking for the right information and the level of validity of the information. And there are few processes need to be gone through in this review protocol, which in this systematic literature review, which are identification process, screening, and eligibility. So under the identification process, we identify synonym term, related terms and terminology and variation for the main keywords for the study, namely knowledge transfer, university education, and student. So the three main database that we use for the identification of sources, which are Scopus, WoS, and also Google Scholar. Okay, and then the next stage is screening, in which we screen all of the related journal. Okay, and then this screening is important because it enables us to find the articles that meet the quality that we have set. Okay, so the screening process will be at a specific period between 2012 to 2021. Okay, so after that, there will be an eligibility process in which in this eligibility, we will include those that meet our criteria and exclude those that not meet our criteria. So what is the eligibility criteria? Here we have, we include articles, okay, and we exclude papers such as conference paper, book review, book chapter, proceeding papers, and the timeline is within 2012 to 2021, and we exclude those less than 2012 because it was very old. Language, we use those papers that are in English and exclude that are non-English. And scope of studies in our searching is business management, accounting, and social science, and we exclude other than business management, accounting, and social science. So the search string that we use for all the three database will basically synonym, we're basically not far from the keywords that we have set, which are knowledge transfer program, university, community, and industry. So these are our resources. We use Scopus, Web of Science, and Google Scholar. Okay, so findings on the literature review, we found these are all the essential characteristics that to make a knowledge transfer program a successful one. First of all, they should have the right knowledge management system in place, in which this system have the function of developing knowledge, manage knowledge flow, ensure that knowledge is used effectively and efficiently for the long-term objectives of the organizations. Okay, so this is the first essential characteristic that we found from the review that we have done. Okay, and secondly, we found that in order for knowledge transfer program to be successful, they have to have the element of innovation. So innovation is about exploring new process, new outcomes, products, or systems. Okay, so by coming out with something new, exploration of ideas that can make knowledge transfer program a successful one. Okay, and also the other characteristic of knowledge transfer program that we found from the review is quality. They should have the element of quality. As we know, quality is about continuous improvement. So when they have this kind of element of continuous improvement in the knowledge transfer, so that can help to the KTP program to be successful. Okay, and then communication. Okay, they should also have a proper or good or effective communication tool in place in order to make the KTP program successful, which is communication is critical. Okay, to assist organizational management in organizing internal communication in a way that allows them to achieve their knowledge management goal. And lastly, the other important essential characteristics of knowledge transfer program is also competitive advantage. Okay, in our K economy, okay, competitive advantage is not just about cost advantage or differentiation only, but we also need to have the right intellectual capital in place, okay, in which that is where the knowledge transfer program comes in. Okay, so by having a competitive advantage element in the knowledge transfer program, it actually helps the organization to foster further. Okay, so based on the review, okay, we found that these 5 elements are essential for knowledge transfer to be successful, which are knowledge management, function, okay, innovation, improvement of the quality improvement element, okay, effective communication tool in place, and element of competitive advantage. Okay, so with that, we conclude that for any for any knowledge transfer program to be successful, they should not left behind these 3 essential characteristics, which are knowledge management, innovation, and quality. Okay, that's all.
Thank you so much. Is there any question? Is there any question for this paper? If there's no question, I don't have any question. I do love your research. There's so much work that you've done, I can see. Okay, if there's no question, can we move on to the next paper, please? To paper ELE0005 by Dr. Sharif bin Harun. Oh, I think this is a pre-recorded paper, if I'm not wrong. Do we have the presenter?
Hello.
Hello, yeah. Do we have the presenter? I believe this one is pre-recorded.
Yes, exactly. He has pre-recorded his presentation, and I will share with you right now the video.
Can I make a request that we go with TE001, Dr. Noreen first, and then we play the video later? Would that be okay?
Okay, no problem.
No problem. I'm just a bit concerned that my kid is coming home.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Hi, Dr. Mei Lim.
Hello, when you're ready.
Yeah, I'm ready. Okay.
Okay, let's start.
Okay, yeah. Okay,
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and good day to our chairperson, Dr. Mei Lim, and all the participants here. Okay, before I start my presentation, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Norino binti Abdul Aziz. I'm from Faculty of Business and Management from UiTM Segamat, Johor. Okay, today I would like to share with all of you my my research paper with entitled Technology Application Among Teachers from Rural Schools in Johor. Okay, all right. Okay, so this is my presentation outline. Okay, before I start my my sharing today, first of all, I would like to share with you why we conducted this study. Okay, for your information, basically we received a grant from UiTM Johor to come up with a project named as a Teaching on the Go, where in this project actually we give a training to all the teachers in rural area, where we focus more on the Segamat area. Okay, so because we know that during the pandemic session, we are facing with the problem like attending the school and so ever. So this time basically we give a training to the teachers to make them using the technology such as Google Meet, okay, Google Classroom, and also Facebook group. So from the session actually, so we found that there is like a problem where the problem that faced by the teachers, where they have like the lack of technology by using the technology in sharing the information to the student. So back to my presentation. So this is my presentation outline. So my presentation outline will start with the background of the study, followed by research objective, literature review, methodology, findings, discussion, and also conclusion.
All right. Okay. So as we all know that pandemic was happened here in Malaysia. Okay, that began from March 2020 until 2022. And for your information, of course, the condition to exercise physical, okay, such as like social distancing and also the limited movement has restricted the normal educational practice. And I'm sure that we are facing with the constraint where we need to change our natural habit, okay, from the face-to-face teaching to the online teaching, right? The current needs also have caused the school to implement the innovation in teaching and learning method by introducing the digital learning, right? In Malaysia, basically, we have like PDPR that call pembelajaran dan pembelajaran di rumah, or in English, we call it as the home-based teaching and learning, okay? And the Ministry of Education Malaysia, MOE, introduced a home learning method using the technology in the classroom. But I'm sure that there is like a constraint, especially the people, like the teachers and also the students that live in the rural area. So this is actually my area of study, where according to Holiday 2002, online learning can assist in linking the interaction between teachers and also students without having to meet face-to-face. So my area of study basically here refer to the online learning. Okay, moving on to our next part is about the research objective, where in this research basically we want to examine the relationship between institutional support, perception of usefulness, personal innovation, perceived social pressure, and also age with the application of technology among teachers from rural schools in Johor. Okay, for your information, so basically we have like 5 independent variables that we use in this study, and also 1 dependent variable that known as the application of technology. Okay, next is about our literature review. So here I would like to share with you the definition of each term. So according to Davis et al. 1992, perceived usefulness is the perception of post-usage experience that consumers have on a particular system. So here basically we need to see how the teachers actually receive, okay, the use of technology, for example like using the Google Meet, okay, to deliver the information to all the students, right? Next is about the personal innovativeness, where this one actually meaning the individual is receptive to new ideas and makes innovation decision independently of the communicated experience of others. So basically we need to see how the teachers can apply their innovation strategy, especially in technology, whether they want to use of, instead of using like WhatsApp, they use like Google Meet or WebEx to deliver the information. Okay, moving on to our next one is about the adoption. The adoption here stated the meaning of technology acceptance. Yeah? So this is actually defined as an individual's decision to use an invention as the best course of action. Okay, next one is about the Reuter et al. Also said that a person's physical and psychological activity changes as they get older, which impact the individual's decision making. Okay, for your information, so basically in this research, we use age as a part of our independent variable to test about the demographic, how actually this age can impact to the technology acceptance. Okay, moving on to our next part is about the methodology. Okay, as you can see here, so basically we run for the quantitative research, and we do like questionnaire. We come up with the online questionnaire, okay, and we use like a scale 1.5, and for the sampling method, basically we use the simple random sampling. Okay, the simple random sampling meaning to say that there is like an equal chance of the respondent to being selected. So our study basically, we choose like teachers from rural area in Johor, but we are specifically choose in a Segamat district. So we have like the teachers that come from primary school and also secondary school. So the total number of respondents that we get from this study is 110 respondents, and we analyze our finding using the SPSS version 25. Okay, for your information, basically, we use like descriptive statistic and also Pearson correlation to run our analysis. Right, so this is our findings. Okay, so basically, we have here the demographic part where we use like gender, age, race, and also education. And as you can see here, so based from the age, okay, why I need to highlight age here? Because age is one of our independent variable that we use for this study. So we have like the category of age here that come from the 5 different group, where a majority of them basically come from the teachers that from 40 to 49 years old. Okay, all right. Moving on to our next part. Okay, to answer our research objectives. So basically, we have the use the regression analysis of coefficient. So why we use the regression? 2 minutes to go. Okay, doctor. Okay, so as you can see here, okay, perceived usefulness, okay, personal innovativeness, and also the perceived social pressure basically have a significant impact, okay, where the significant level here is less than 0.05. And the chi-square here, basically we want to test the categorical test, okay, that we use like the demographic. So as overall, I can say that the p-value is more than 0.05, which is insignificant. Okay, as a discussion, based from our objective, basically from the 5 independent variable that we proposed, only three were significant. That is the perception of usefulness, personal innovation, and also perceived social pressure, where these 3 variables actually was spotted by the past study. Okay, in a conclusion, as educational technologies and tools involved in new definition and also relevant in each day, so I believe that the school institution must quickly try to adapt with a new technology, because we know that now we are in the changing part from the pandemic to the endemic, but we must get ready with the new technology, right? And then we need to sharpening the IT skill and its member, and for the further findings and also studies, it is available for the other academic researcher to come up with the different areas to measure the other factors and also variable. With that, I end my presentation. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Mei Lim.
Thank you so much. Does anyone have any questions? I don't have any question for you, apart from enjoying your presentation. If we don't have any question, can we move on to the last paper, the ELE 005, the pre-recorded presentation by Dr. Sharif bin Harun?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Hey, Assalamualaikum and very good day to all 10 Asian Conference on Environment-Behaviour Studies conference participants. My name is Sharif Harun and my co-author is Ibrahim Ahmad. So I'll be presenting my slide, my presentation with the title of University Administrators Retention, the Moderating Roles of Organizational Justice and Generational Diversity. So before I proceed further, let us look at the background of this paper. The economic impact of the COVID-19 pandemic basically affected business resilience and had caused businesses to put limited focus on employees' well-being, which had led to high staff turnovers and low retention. Basically, this has affected business ability to stay competitive. Yep. However, Bank Negara Malaysia has reported that the Malaysian economic has shown a good recovery, has shown an economic growth with 3.9%, and this is aided by labor market recovery. Yeah, and with that, the employment demand, especially in the services sector, has started to increase, and especially in the services sector, so it has shown a positive growth. Okay, this scenario unfortunately has shown a growing shortage of skilled employees, workers, especially in Southeast Asia countries, and Malaysia is also included, and thus this created a challenge in attracting and retaining talent. Studies have shown that HRM practices will not be able to HRM practice alone will not be able to make employees stay and be loyal to the organization. Yeah, it is basically the perceptions of the organizational justice also did affected their performance in the organization. Okay. Okay, basically, what this study is trying to look at is basically organizational justice as well as the generational diversity, and to look at the impact of these two variables towards the relationship between HR practices and employee retention. Studies has also indicated that there are huge gap pertaining to these two scope of study, and this is the reason why we did this study. Basically, we wanted to look and to further study to look at the impact of these two variables. So that's why we are putting the organizational justice and generational diversity as the model, as looking at their moderating roles in the relationship between HR practices and employee retention. Right. Thus, with that, the three main objectives that have been highlighted in this particular study would be: one, to examine the relationship between HR practices and employees retention; two, to examine the moderating effects of perceived organizational justice on the relationship between HR practices and employee retention; third one is to examine the moderating effects of generational diversity on the relationship between HR practices and employees retention. So basically, this is the three main objectives of this study. All right, so let's look at the literature review. Yeah. So basically, based on study, we found out that the organizational justice dimensions was actually introduced by Greenberg, yeah, in 1987, as well as in 1987, and this theory is basically based on the equity theory developed by Adams in 1963, 1965. So under the organizational justice dimension, there are three main attributes, that is distributive justice, procedural justice, and interactional justice. And looking at the generation variables, so basically we are looking at the effect of baby boomers, Generation X, Generation Y, yeah, the millennials, the effect of these different millennials working together in any organization. So we wanted to look at the moderating effect of this generational diversity towards the relationship between HR and practice, and as well as the employee retention. All right, so this is the methodology developed for this study. Basically, we are using the descriptive research design and specifically the non-probability sampling method. And due to the reason that it is difficult to get the number of the exact number at the database of the employee within the education industry, so we are using purposive sampling for this purpose of completing the study. And specifically, we are looking at the higher learning institutions administrators, specifically the non-academician, with a minimum of 1 year working experience. So we utilizes the variables, we utilizes the questionnaire, we adopt and adapt the questionnaire developed by previous researchers, which training and development variables being developed by Dilleri and Doty, performance appraisal Dilleri and Doty as well, recruitment and selection developed by Khatri, compensation and benefits also developed by Khatri. The organizational justice, so we are basically using the Niehoff and Mormon questionnaire. So we adopt and adapt the questionnaire developed by Niehoff and Mormon. Yeah. Intention to stay, we are using the MODI as well as the WASH questionnaire. So, all right. So in order for us to achieve the research objective, so we did a factor analysis based on the data gathered. So we did factor analysis, and from the factor analysis, we found that from the factor analysis conducted, so we found out that the original variables for HR practices, training and development, performance appraisal, recruitment and selection, compensation and benefits, actually when we conducted the factor analysis, we found out the three main variables that is actually the main one would be the performance appraisal and development, training and selection. Right, so we renamed the four original variables accordingly to the factor analysis results that we have. While the organizational justice dimensions, basically we started off from distributive justice, procedural justice, and interactional justice. But later on, when we did factor analysis, we found out the variables related would be justice, distributive justice work, distributive justice reward flow. And based on this factor analysis, we concluded with this conceptual research framework. Right, so based on the analysis conducted, so we found out that in order for us to achieve objective one, we use regression analysis. So we found out that HR practices did influence employees retention. Specifically, training and performance appraisal and development are the strongest influencer. These are the two strongest influencer in terms of HR practices that can influence employees retention. The second objective, in order for us to resolve the second objective, we used moderated multiple regression analysis, MMR, and we found out that in actual fact, justice, management practices, and distributive justice are two significant moderators in the relationship between HR practices and employee retention. So the third objective, in order for us to achieve the third objective, we do moderated multiple regression analysis as well, and we found out that the generational diversity did not moderate the relationship between HR practices and employee retention. So it is not supported at all. Right, so let us go to the conclusion. So we found out that basically we have managed to come up with a model to substantiate the earlier turnover behavioral theories, linking the selected variables that we found out, which is specifically HR practices is training and performance appraisal, training and performance appraisal and development. For these would be justice and reward. So basically, the proposed framework was substantially very detailed. Research objective are objectively answered, and so empirically we have managed to show the moderating effect of organizational justice, specifically the management practices and distributive justice reward towards the relationship between HR practice and employee retention. Yeah. Okay. With that, thank you for listening to my presentation, and hope to see you guys in the next coming conference. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Okay. Is there any question? Because I did ask questions. I'm not sure whether we actually managed to get that in. Is there any question from anyone there?
No.
Can I take that as a no?
Yeah, no.
Okay, so thank you very much everyone for having me, and thank you for our lovely and wonderful IT guru. It's really good to see you again. I hope to see you again soon. If this is okay, may I? Okay. I'll go now.
Okay,
that concludes our session. Thank you so much. Thank you. So good to see everyone. Thank you for all the presenters. Thank you, my guru.
You're welcome. And thank you so much for your time to be.
Thank you. Thank you. I absolutely enjoy doing it. You might hear crying. Okay, I must go. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.